Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am. We have discussed two major approaches to personality. First one was psychodynamic approach, which was very influential, and this approach, psychodynamic approach, views personality to be particularly Freud, psychodynamic theorists, especially Freud, they believe that personality or our behavior is totally determined by unconscious forces. And latter psychodynamic theorists, they added social influence of society and interpersonal interaction, etc., to be the determining our behavior in addition to our unconscious mind. The second influential approach was learning approach, which was mainly given by the behaviorists. They behaviorists believe that our behavior is totally our behavior is all of our behavior is learned, and it depends on the reinforcement, our environmental experiences, especially reinforcement. So personality is nothing but some habits learned through reinforcement from our environment. So these two forces are totally opposite, or we can say that they are the two poles of two extreme poles of a continuum. Behaviorists totally reject the idea of unconscious mind or any internal forces. But both the views, the psychodynamic views as well as humanistic views, they are deterministic theories, and to them, individual has no free will. Individual cannot determine his or her own behavior or control his or her own behavior according to its wish, interest, motivation, etc. So, in response to these two forces, psychoanalysis and behaviorism, a third force appeared in the in the third force appeared. The third force is called as humanistic theories. Or the humanistic perspective. Humanists, mainly humanistic theories have been given by psychologists like Carl Rogers and Abraham Maslow. Both Rogers as well as Maslow, they wanted psychology to focus on the things that make people uniquely human. They have their subjective emotion, they have freedom to choose their own destiny, they have freedom to behave according to their wish. So humanistic psychologists have focused on issues such as personal responsibility, free will, and individuals striving toward personal growth and fulfillment. They are not governed by only biological instincts or reinforcement schedule. They have their own wish, they can determine their destiny, and they have a tendency to grow. They are not subjected to instinctual forces or others in the environment. They have their they have a tendency to grow, to develop. So humanistic theories focuses on these positive aspects of human beings, and they rely on phenomenology. Phenomenology means the study of experiences. So individual experiences are important. So we can know a person only through his experience. Subjective experience is also important. So I have already told you that this perspective, mainly advocates of this perspective are Carl Rogers and Abraham Maslow. Let us discuss their contributions. According to Carl Rogers, individuals are not a set of stimulus response links as the behaviorists argued. Rather, people behave as an organized whole. People have a tendency to grow and develop, to move toward autonomy. They are autonomous beings. So they can control their behavior. They can decide their behavior. And so they have self-writing tendency, self-correcting tendency. Each individual is the center of his world of experience. So the individual can be studied in the context of his world of experience, because he is the center of his world of experience. So thus, in order to know the individual, we have to study, we have to fathom his world of experiences. That is what phenomenology says. And according to Rogers, there is no true reality. Reality for each individual is what they perceive. So reality is subjective. What is real to you may not be real to me, because you and me both can perceive the same thing from different angles, because we have different experiences. We are living in different world of experiences, so we perceive things from different angles. So the reality for you is not the reality for is not my reality. So reality is subjective. There is no true objective reality. Thus, individual's behavior could be understood only from his or her internal frame of reference. So, how does the individual look at the world? Looks at the world. Key notion in Rogers' theory is self-concept. Self-concept. What do you mean by self-concept? Can anyone say? Can anyone say? What is self-concept? Hello? Am I audible? Am I audible?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. So, can you say, what do you mean by self-concept?
Ma'am, self-identity, I hope.
Self-identity is something different. Self-concept is the individual's set of beliefs, knowledge, and feelings about himself. What do you think of yourself? Okay, that is your self-concept. Okay, understood?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
So, self is the key notion in Rogers' theory. Um, self concept develops or is formed as a result of interaction of the individual with his environment. As the child grows up, she learns to differentiate I and me from the rest of the world. So the growing child gradually comes to differentiate between herself from the rest of the world. That differentiation of I and me from the rest of the world uh, uh, is the basis of the formation of the self concept. As I have told you, it is the individual's set of beliefs, knowledge, and feelings about oneself. When values are attached to the self concept, this is known as self esteem. And self concept, self esteem are derived either from direct experience or from what other people tell him or her about himself or herself. Um, so, understood?
Yes, ma'am.
Uh, so, only the part of the self that is accessible to consciousness constitutes self-concept, according to Rogers. So, Rogers strongly advocated that we should study that part of the individual's mind which is accessible to his or her consciousness. So anything of which we are unaware should not be the subject matter of our study, according to Rogers. So he argues that self-concept focuses on those parts of the self that are accessible to consciousness, and it is impossible. Why we should not we should focus on conscious experiences? Because Rogers argued that it is impossible to study systematically any part of the self existing below the level of conscious awareness. So, and that is not at the level of our conscious awareness. The things which we are not aware of, we cannot study them. And self concept consists of real self and ideal self. So, two important components of the self concept are the real self and the ideal self. Real self is the individual's perception of his actual characteristics, traits, and abilities. So one's perception of what she or he actually is. So your perception of your characteristic traits and abilities, your belief about what you actually are in terms of your traits, abilities, etc., is your real self. And the ideal self is the individual's perception of what she or he should or would like to be. The ideal self primarily comes from important, significant persons in your life, most often the parents. So both real self comes from your experience as well as what others tell about you. That is your real self or self concept. Ideal self also comes from what the persons who are significant in your life, like your parents, your teachers, or your whoever is significant in your life, caretaker. What they think about you is your ideal self. So when the real self and ideal self are similar to each other, people feel competent. A mismatch between the two can result in anxiety and neurotic behavior. So when you think you are what you should be, you are happy. Understood?
Yes, ma'am.
And if you think you should have been something, but you actually are not that person. So there is a mismatch between your real self and ideal self, and this mismatch results in anxiety and neurotic behavior. And Rogers suggested a method which is known as Q-SORT method to assess the real self and ideal self. With this method, what is done with this method, in this method is the person is presented with a pile of cards, each containing a statement of personal relevance. For example, I am a friendly person, I am an honest person, I am tense most of the time, stressed most of the time. Such type of statements each are written on cards. So each card contains a statement of such type of sentences which describe a person, and the person's task is to decide which statements best describe him or her. So the person selects the card containing the statement which best describes him or her. Then the person selects the next best in their descriptive power, and so on, up to the least descriptive statements. After arranging the cards according to their belief, which statement describes them best, two, which sentence or statement describes them the least, they again arrange the cards according to what they would like to be. So, first one, the arrangement of the cards according to the person which describes them is their real self, and again the second arrangement which the person thinks he should be or he would like to be is his or her ideal self. Finally, the investigator calculates the discrepancy between the two categorizations, and so from this, the discrepancy between the real self and the ideal self can be assessed. Rogers emphasized, I can show you the figure. Here you can see when the real self and the ideal self, two circles, there is much overlap, they match, you experience harmony, you experience happiness. But when this is known as congruence, and when there is a mismatch between your real self and the ideal self represented by the two circles, that means there is the overlap is very less, you feel anxiety. And when the real self and ideal self overlap, congruence is achieved. So congruence means a lack of conflict between the individual's perceived self and their actual behavior. When there is a discrepancy or these two conflict with each other, yourself, what do you think of yourself, your perceived self, and your actual behavior? When these two match, there is no conflict between these two, congruence is achieved. And when there is a gap between the real self and ideal self, or your perceived self and your actual experience, it is called to be the state of incongruence. Thus, here you can say, see, incongruent is less overlap, and congruent is more overlap. In general, we try to achieve congruence. We are motivated to achieve congruence. That means we try to behave in a way that is consistent with our self-concept. Okay? So, because we always try to preserve by behaving in a way that is consistent with our self-concept. As I told you, incongruence creates anxiety. When there is a mismatch between the two, perceived self and our actual experience, or the real self and the ideal self, anxiety results. As a result, the individual acts defensively. There are two defensive processes described by Rogers. One is denial and the second is distortion. Denial involves refusing to accept at conscious level that the experience happened. And distortion involves misremembering the experience to make it consistent with the perceived self. That means you distort the your your experience. You remember the experience in a distorted way so as to make it consistent with your perceived self. Suppose I give you an example. Suppose you think yourself to be a very gentle and polite person. Okay, you think yourself to be a very gentle and polite person. So your self, perceived self is that you are a very gentle and polite person. But suppose in a particular situation you are very angry or you behave very aggressively. Okay, you behave very aggressively towards a person. So your actual experience, actual behavior here doesn't coincide with the with what you perceive of yourself. So there is a mismatch, there is incongruence between the two. So you will feel anxiety, then you may deny that you actually became angry and behaved aggressively. No, I was not angry, I didn't behave aggressively. Complete denial. Or the second alternative way of thinking, defensive process, defensive act is you distort your experience, remembering the experience. So you say, actually, I didn't behave really aggressive at all. I was joking. I was not angry with her. I was just joking. Okay. Could you understand the difference between the two?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. So denial involves refusing to accept that the experience happened, and distortion involves misremembering the experience to make it consistent with the perceived self. And congruent people are more likely to achieve self-actualization. Self-actualization is a concept given by the humanistic psychologists. So congruent people are more likely to achieve self-actualization. What is the meaning of self-actualization? Is realizing one's full potential. So you when you become what you want to become, okay, that is self-actualization. So congruence primarily depends on how significant people in the person's life react to him or her. Thus, behavior of others can facilitate or impede self-actualization. And for the achievement of self-actualization, children require two things, according to Rogers. So, young child has two basic needs. First, need for positive regards by others. Second, positive self-regard. What is positive regard? Positive regard refers to being loved and accepted as who one is. So, if the person is accepted as he is, we can say he is getting positive regard. So positive regard is the warmth, affection, love, and respect that come from significant others. Significant others means family members, teachers, parents, etc., or other significant members in his life. So, if the significant people in the person's life provide him with warmth, affection, love, and respect, it is positive regard. In ideal situation, positive regard should be unconditional. So, unconditional positive regard is not contingent on any specific behaviors. It is unconditional. It is not subjected to your behavior. People will love as you are. So, they will continue to love you in spite of what you do. That is unconditional positive regard. But very often parents impose conditions of worth on children. So parents say, if you become first in the class, in the exam, then I will love you. If you become a doctor, I will love you. If you study anything else, I will not accept you. These are conditions of worth. If you do not behave according to my wish, you do not become somebody who I want, according to who I wish, then your life is worthless. I will not accept it. So this is conditional positive regard. Thus, conditional positive regard is love, affection, warmth that depend on doing what those significant others want. Okay? Understood?
Yes, ma'am.
Such conditions of worth may lead to internalization of values, introjection of values of others rather than of the self, leading to a discrepancy between self-concept and experience. So, how my ideal self becomes, I should be a doctor, or I should be able to study in IIT because my parents want that. So my parents' wish or my parents' values are introjected or internalized within me. So I should be a doctor or I should be an IITian. But in reality, I like to paint. I like to be a painter. I am a painter. So there is a mismatch. There is a discrepancy between self-concept and experience. So such discrepancy leads to mental health problem, anxiety, neurotic problem, etc. Okay. So, positive self-regard follows automatically if one has received unconditional positive regard. So if parents accept us or love us as who we are, then we will automatically love ourselves and accept ourselves. Okay? Understood?
Yes, ma'am.
So this you may ask, I told you, positive unconditional positive regard is love the child in spite of what he or she does. So the child may be a painter, the person may be a painter, but as parent, I will accept it and I will continue to love him and continue to respect the person. That is unconditional positive regard. You may ask, suppose the child is doing something bad, okay, negative behavior. He is showing aggressive behavior or temper tantrum. Then also we should accept his behavior, love him. You may have this question in your mind. Yes, you love the child, but disapprove the child's negative behavior. So you may convey the child that I love you, but I don't approve your negative behavior. I don't approve your behavior, but I still love you. So disapprove the behavior, not the child. Okay?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
And when a person experiences a match between the real and ideal self and is in the process of self-actualization, he is told to be a fully functioning person. Okay, so when there is a match between the real and ideal self, the person can explore and try to realize all his potentials and abilities. We can say that the person is a fully functioning person. And Roger suggested non-directive or person-centered therapy for treating mentally ill people. And in person-centered therapy, three things are very important on the part of the therapist or counselor. If the counselor or therapist wants to bring out the desired change in the client, he or she, the therapist, should have three attitudes. First, empathy. Empathy means putting yourself in somebody else's shoe. That means ability to look at the thing from the person's frame of reference, person's client's perspective. That is phenomenology. So how does the client sees the event or sees the world? So if you put yourself in the client's position, then only you can see or understand his perspective. That is known as empathy, putting yourself in someone else's position. Okay? Second requirement is unconditional positive regard. So the client has some behavioral or some problem. He has some difficulty, psychological difficulty. That's why she or he has come to you. You may try to bring out change, to change that behavior, change that feeling, but accept that person, respect that person unconditionally. Okay, you change the behavior, change the way of looking at the thing, so feeling aspect. Still, you accept the person. Okay, a thief may come to me and say, I have an urge to steal things from others. The behavior is undesirable. Yes, I, as a psychologist, want to change his stealing behavior, but still I respect that person. He may be a thief, he may be a criminal, but I must respect that person. I may disapprove his behavior, but I must respect that person. So that is unconditional positive regard. And third requirement is a genuineness. And genuineness is the person, psychologist or counselor, he himself is a human being with a lot of strength and weakness. As human being, we also have our weakness. So the therapist or counselor or the psychologist should be aware of that feeling, his or her own feeling or own weakness. Okay. Let us evaluate Rogers theory. Rogers theory gives a positive view of human nature, positive view, because he says all of us have a tendency to grow and achieve self-actualization. So the human nature is positive, okay, growth centered. So he is giving a positive view of human nature. And Rogers' theoretical approach led him to develop person-centered therapy. And person-centered therapy is widely being used and is also moderately successful. The applicability of Rogers' theory is good. Tremendous applicability. Person-centered therapy. First, he was saying non-directive therapy. Then he changed the name to be client-centered therapy. Now, the therapy is known as person-centered therapy. But critics say that it is more a philosophical view than a concrete psychological theory. It is more an art than a science. It is difficult to test scientifically. And they also criticize his approach to emphasize on only conscious experience. Our unconscious mind is also very powerful in determining our behavior. So they say with emphasis on only conscious experience, the theory doesn't seem holistic. Behaviorists criticize that some concepts like self-actualization are difficult to define and tested experimentally. We cannot objectively define self-actualization because Rogers stressed on subjective experiences, phenomenology. So self-actualization is different for you and it is different for me. So we cannot test it or experiment on it objectively. And the theory provides a very rosy picture of personality. That means all of us are good and we have a tendency to grow, we are self-correcting. So this provides a very rosy picture. The theory cannot explain the negative aspects of our human nature. Like some people are psychopathic, so they always tend to behave or to show antisocial behavior. They tend to behave antisocially. So Rogers' theory cannot explain the behavior of such antisocial people, explain such antisocial behavior. So that is all about Rogers. Then let us discuss another humanist theory, that is the theory of Abraham Maslow. Maslow described the human beings as wanting animals who always desire something. There are, according to Maslow, there are several levels of needs that a person must strive to meet before achieving the highest level of personality fulfillment. So we always want something, we have some needs which are to be met. And according to Maslow, these needs are arranged hierarchically in several levels. There are several levels of needs, and lower level needs must be satisfied before achieving the highest level. And according to Maslow, self-actualization is the highest need. And Maslow talked of several needs, and out of these needs, some are deficiency needs or D needs, and some are growth needs or B needs. Deficiency needs are needs of the body, such as need for food or water. Growth needs are the desires like feeling good about oneself. Self-actualization is the highest level of growth needs. For a person to achieve self-actualization, which is the highest level of growth needs, the primary basic needs must be satisfied. So what are these needs? Originally, Maslow talked of 5 needs arranged in a hierarchy. These 5 needs are physiological needs, safety needs, belongingness needs, esteem needs, and self-actualization. So, at the highest level of, at the lowest level of the hierarchy are the physiological needs. That is necessities such as air, food, and water. These needs tend to be satisfied um, for our existence, for survival. So if they are unmet, if we do not meet them, they become predominantly. Whatever, whoever we may be, if we are hungry, we will look for or search for food. I may be the president of America. I must satisfy my hunger need first. I must survive. So these survival needs, physiological needs are very important and must be met. And during emergencies, safety needs such as health and security rise to the forefront. So we have safety needs. Once these two levels are met, belongingness needs appear. Belongingness needs refer to our need to obtain love, to establish intimate relationship, close friendships, and become important. All these are belongingness needs. Our social needs. The next level is esteem need. Esteem need includes the need for recognition from others, confidence, achievement, and self-esteem. And at the highest level is the self-actualization needs or the self-fulfillment. It is the need to become everything that one is capable of becoming. That is the self-actualization need. So self-actualization is to become what I am capable of becoming, to fulfill my potentialities. That is self-actualization need. Later on, two other needs were inserted by Maslow, just above the esteem need and below the self-actualization need. First, physiological need. Second, after physiological need, safety need, then belongingness need, after then esteem need. After esteem need, two other needs were inserted. These are cognitive needs and aesthetic needs. Cognitive need is the need to know, understand, and learn for the sake of gathering knowledge. Just for the sake of knowledge, I want to know, I want to learn. My knowledge may not bring any benefit to me later on, but I must learn for the sake of gathering knowledge. Academic people may be considered as scientists. They have strong cognitive needs. Aesthetic needs correspond to the need for order and beauty. So it is typical of artistic persons. And Maslow also added a higher need called transcendence above the self-actualization. So the transcendence need involves helping others achieve self-actualization, helping others achieve their full potential. Okay, understood? And this is the Maslow's hierarchy of needs. Understood?
Yes, madam.
Okay.
Yes,
Yes,
ma'am.
ma'am.
Let us evaluate Maslow's theory. Actually, one thing I want to say here, we may be operating at some level. Okay, suppose I am in the direction of fulfilling my cognitive needs. Okay, suppose you all are continuing your master's degree. I don't know what is your objective. Many of you are engaged somewhere else, are already in job, I think so. But just for the sake of knowledge, just to know about psychology, you are admitted to this class. You have taken admission to this class, isn't it?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
I think some of you are already in job, good job. But just to know about psychology, you have taken admission. So that is, you are here to learn just for the sake of knowledge, isn't it? So you are operating at the cognitive need level. Now your cognitive need is very dominant. Okay, suppose you are not well, you are suffering from fever, suffering from headache, or we may say you are very hungry, you have not eaten. Would you have attended this class? Suppose now you are attending this class to satisfy your cognitive need. If you had not taken your lunch and you are very hungry, would you have attended this class?
No, ma'am.
First, you I think you have tried, you had tried to have your lunch, isn't it? You should take your lunch first, then after satisfying your biological or physiological need, satisfying your hunger, you will come to satisfy your cognitive need. And you have taken admit. So even if you are here to satisfy your cognitive need, when your lower level need is not satisfied, you will first try to satisfy it. So you calm down, isn't it?
Yes, ma'am.
Understood?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
Okay. So individuals, they move up and down and then back up. Can this moving back up occur frequently in an individual's life? Okay. Regarding the evaluation of Maslow's theory, Maslow gave a unique theory, and his contribution is based on healthy people rather than sick people. So he is talking about healthy people. And the most common criticism concerns his methodology. So his methodology of studying the hierarchy of need doesn't seem to be correct, because what Maslow did, he picked a small number of people whom he thought as self-actualizing, then coming to conclusions about what self-actualization is. So by studying the life of some people whom I think that they are self-actualizing, I am talking about self-actualization. So this is not very scientific to many people. It is not a very objective idea. I think you are self-actualizing and I study your life. Then whatever your characteristics are, I say self-actualization is, I describe self-actualization in terms of your characteristics. Okay? So that doesn't seem scientific. Another criticism is that Maslow placed certain constraints on self-actualization. How? Maslow told that only about 2% of human beings achieve self-actualization. Not all of us can achieve self-actualization. Most of us cannot achieve self-fulfillment. We cannot become whatever our potentialities, capabilities, we cannot fulfill all our capabilities and potentialities. So according to Maslow, only 2% of human beings are self-actualizing. So self-actualization actually is a need of adults, young adults. But Rogers felt that babies are the best example of self-actualization, because according to Rogers, self-actualization is the congruence between ideal self and real self. So they do not experience any incongruence. Babies, their ideal self. For a baby, I say, oh, you write down the alphabets, or small babies. They do not, they have not yet into these complexities of life. So they are very happy, they are congruent. But Maslow said that self-actualization is a characteristic which is typical of young adults, young people and adults. And another criticism is that we take take care of our lower level needs before self-actualization comes to the forefront. So according to Maslow, lower level needs must be satisfied before higher level needs. We are working for higher level needs. So before self-actualization, all our lower level needs must be satisfied. But in actuality, if we study the biography of many of the best artists and authors of the world, we can know that they have suffered from poverty. They were very depressed. They were not very happy people. All their needs are not met. Mainly poets were poor people, writers, poets, literary people. They were very poor people. Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. So this is we have discussed the three powerful perspectives of personality. Okay. Another important group of theories of personality are the trait theories, trait approach. Trait approach, we in the past class we have discussed something about the trait approach. But we have not discussed them in detail. What is a trait? Trait is a a trait is a consistent way of thinking, feeling, and behaving. Traits are stable dimensions of personality along which people vary. They vary from very low to very high. So, somebody is saying something. Are you saying something?
No, ma'am.
No, ma'am. Okay. So traits are relatively stable and they are continuous. They range from very low to very high. And the traits attempt at describing the person. They try to identify the key dimensions along which people vary. Trait theorists try to measure how much people vary along the traits, and they try to predict behavior because they think a trait is a predisposition to act in the same way in a wide range of situations. Suppose, for example, suppose I am a shy person, okay? So, shyness is a trait, and I am a shy person. Shyness is my predisposition to act in a wide range of situations. For example, I am shy in the class, I am shy in social situations, I am shy in parties. So, in a wide range of situations, I behave in the same way according to my trait. Okay. One of the most we can say the first trait theory was given by Gordon Allport. Gordon Allport, according to Gordon Allport, a trait is a disposition to behave in a particular way as expressed in a person's behavior over a range of situations. And Allport believes that all the traits are dynamic in the sense that they have motivational powers. Trait can energize you or direct you in a particular to a particular behavior in a particular direction. So they have motivational powers. Allport talked of individual traits and common traits. Individual traits are unique to the individual. They are called as personal dispositions. And common traits are called nomothetic traits. Common traits are shared with others. For example, we say about social attitudes. We say that Chinese are such people. Pakistanis cannot be trusted. So Japanese are very punctual. So such this trait, punctuality, is shared with all Japanese people. Okay, that is common trait. Alport also talked of 3 categories of traits organized on the basis of their importance. The least important traits are secondary traits. Secondary traits are enduring personal qualities, but they do not explain general behavior pattern. For example, food preferences. So secondary traits are the traits that exert relatively weak and specific effects on behavior. Very specific. Then comes central traits. Central traits are a major characteristic of a person that is assumed to explain the individual's pattern of behavior. So these are generalized dispositions that a person often expresses. Central traits are stronger and more resistant to situational forces. Secondary traits are, we can change our secondary traits if situation forces us. But central traits are more resistant to situational factors. These traits usually we can describe a person in terms of 8 to 10 central traits. So these traits, central traits, 8 to 10, or you can say 5 to 10, together account for the uniqueness of the individual's personality. So they describe the individual's personality, and the central traits are the building block of personality. Then comes cardinal traits. Cardinal traits are extremely pervasive. Pervasive means it is a trait around which a person organizes his life. All his behaviors are determined by or are shaped by this trait. It dominates the individual's entire personality. All of us do not have cardinal traits. For example, we can say Gandhi's cardinal traits were truth, non-violence. Mother Teresa's behavior was, all her behavior was dominated by compassion. In Alport's theory, concept is functional autonomy. Functional autonomy is maintenance of a behavior by motives other than the ones originally responsible for its occurrence. That means we may start showing a behavior for something, okay. So the motivation behind this behavior is something, but later on we start showing that behavior for something else. We maintain the behavior by motives which was not originally responsible for that behavior. For example, I say, when you were in school, okay, you were studying in school, you were studying or reading, just your parents motivated you that you read, I will give you a good dress, or I will give you a scooty, or you may the motive behind reading or studying was getting good marks. So then you were reading to get good marks or to get some reward from your parents. Okay, but now many of you have developed a hobby for reading, or some people who are operating now in cognitive level. You are doing job somewhere, but just to know about the subject, you took admission and you are reading. So now the motivation is something else. Your motivation is not to get reward from parents or to get good marks, to compete with your friends. Your motivation has become internal satisfaction. You are getting internal pleasure from reading, isn't it?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
And that is functional autonomy. So you behave, you show the same behavior, but the motive behind this behavior has changed. And another term used by Alport was proprium. Proprium is Alport's concept of self. It is the overall construct that unifies traits and provides direction for the person's life or behavior. That is known as, it can be understood as the self of the individual. So proprium contributes to an inward sense of unity. So what is your inward sense of, or your what do you understand yourself? What is you think you are within? Raymond Cattell, we have already discussed. Surface stress, the Cattell, what did he do? Cattell observed that thousands of persons responded to measures designed to reflect individual differences. Actually, we are different in terms of a large number of traits. So he tried to know actually along which traits individuals differ. So traits, I have already told you that they are the describing traits describe people. So we can describe a people in terms of 1,000 words. We cannot study so many traits. So Cattell tried to reduce the number of traits and give a theory with regard to the number of traits and type of traits. So he adopted a statistical technique known as factor analysis. Factor analysis is a statistical technique which helps to identify which helped him to cluster the traits or to group the traits which can go together, which can be correlated with each other. Thus, if 8 to 10 traits can be grouped and they are present within the individual simultaneously, they go together, then we can say that say that these 8 to 10 characteristics can be a single trait. Thus, the number of traits can be reduced to a small number of personality factors. What did Cattell did? You know, he searched for the adjectives. Adjectives are the describing word. So adjectives he tried to search, he collected the adjectives from the dictionaries, and he selected 18,000 adjectives. Okay, those are describing words, and out of those 18,000 adjectives, he selected 4,500 words to be describing personality characteristics. So these 4,500 words seem to be representing personality descriptions, and these 4,500 were further reduced to 160 traits. Because some of the words were synonyms and some of the words are very unfamiliar. And from personality literature, Cattell also added 11 words, thus 171 traits. And 171 is also a quite good number, and it is difficult to describe a person in terms of 171 traits. Then Cattell factor analyzed them. He got 35 surface traits. By factor analyzing 171 traits, he got 35 surface traits. Surface traits are clusters or manifest or overt variables, we can say, that seem go together. Okay, so these are overt variables. Out of these 35 surface traits, he again derived 16 source traits. Source traits represent the underlying variables that determine multiple surface manifestations. For example, suppose a person is shy, a person is not very much mixing, he is not talkative, he doesn't want to be among people. These 4 and 5 manifest behaviors, overt behaviors, we can say are surface traits. And underlying these overt behaviors, we can say there is a source trait known as introversion. Okay, so this is regarding Cattell's theory. Then the trait theory of Hans Eysenck. Eysenck also used factor analysis. Eysenck used Cattle collected words from dictionary. Okay, but Isaac used the psychiatrist rating of 700 patients suffering from neurotic disorders, various types of neurotic disorders. So from these psychiatrists ratings, Isaac used factor analysis of these ratings, and he found two factors: neuroticism and extraversion. Neuroticism is a trait consisting of anxiety, tension, depression, and other negative emotional states. The second factor, extraversion, is a positive trait consisting mainly of sociability. Okay. With subsequent research with normal people, first he take the ratings of patients, neurotic patients. So the first version of his theory was based on the patients, but again he collected data from normal people. Then this data from normal people were also factor analyzed, and he got these two factors, neuroticism and extraversion. Another factor he got, psychoticism. So Isaac added a third factor, psychoticism. And high scorers on psychoticism are egocentric, aggressive, impulsive, a lack of empathy. To measure these three factors, Isaac developed a questionnaire called as Isaac Personality Questionnaire or EPQ. And Isaac believed that these factors are have genetic contributions. So genes or biology contributes these factors. We can say those who are high on neuroticism are emotionally unstable, tense, and anxious, and those are low on neuroticism are relaxed. So neuroticism consists of negative characteristics. And regarding extraversion, those who are high on extraversion are sociable, impulsive, and those who are low on extraversion are unsocial and cautious, careful. And with regard to the third factor, psychoticism, those who are high on psychoticism are aggressive, egocentric, cold, and low on psychoticism is characterized by warm, non-aggressive, concerned with others, concern for others, etc. So, according to Isaac, the importance of the personality factors should essentially be demonstrated by showing that those scoring high and those scoring low on each factor differ predictably in their behavior. As I told you, those who are scoring high on a particular factor and those who are scoring low on a particular factor are different from each other. And finally, you have the big five factors. The big five factors was given by Macrae and Costa. This theory, big five factors, actually, though Capital used factor analysis to reduce the number of traits. Still, the number is very high, 16 factors. And if we administer the Cattell's 16 personality factor questionnaire, it is widely used. We had to describe the individual along 16 factors. But that theory given by Macrae and Costa talks of only 5 factors. That is known as big. He calls them as big 5 factors. So it is very easy to describe a person along 5 dimensions. So first, we can start with neuroticism. Neuroticism is mainly concerned with emotional stability, calmness, composed. The person who is high on neuroticism is emotionally unstable, and who is low on neuroticism is emotionally stable, calm, and composed. And the second factor, according to this theory, extraversion, sociable. Those who extraversion is related to a dimension of personality which ranges from energetic, sociable to sober. Those who are high on extraversion are sociable and talkative. Those who are low on extraversion, they do not like to be among other people. Third is openness to experience. That is related to our imagination, creativeness, etc. So those who are very high on openness to experience are very creative people. They are open to experience many things. Those who are low on openness, they do not, we can say, risk to experience many things, to move on the untrodden path. They are very cautious. So the first version of the theory consisted of only on the basis of these 3 traits, Macrae and Costa developed a scale that was known as NEO-PI. Neo means N for neuroticism, E for extraversion, and O for openness, PI personality inventory. NEO-PI. A later version of the test included the other 2 traits, agreeableness and conscientiousness. And those who are agreeable people are cooperative and trusting, and conscientious people are well organized, self-disciplined, hardworking, and goal-directed. So the latter version of the big five factor test, NeoPI, measured all the 5 traits, and it was known as NeoPIR revised. NeoPIR was a very long test having 240 items. A abridged version has also been developed, that is known as Neo FFI, which consisted of 60 items. And according to Macrae and Costa, individual differences in these factors depend partly on genetic factors. Genes also contribute to the differences along these dimensions. And various psychopathologies or mental disorders have also been related to extreme variations in these personality dispositions. That means personality disorders can be regarded as extreme variants of variants of these personality traits. So individuals having a personality disorder should tend to have extreme scores on some of the big five factors. For example, those who are schizoid personality. Schizoid personality, they do not like to be with people. They do not, that is extreme case. Among us, many of are extroverts and many of us are introverts, liking to remain within ourselves. But schizoid people are abnormally away from other people. So they always remain aloof from other people. If we administer this test on schizoid people, they would have or get very low score on extraversion. Okay. So various mental disorders have now been trying to describe psychologists are nowadays trying to describe the people having various mental disorders in terms of these big five factors. So trait theories, there are several trait theories which we have discussed, and let us evaluate the trait theories as a whole. Trait theory has several strengths and weaknesses. So far as strengths are concerned, they are reasonably scientific. Trait approach produce an approximate description of the structure of personality. That means, suppose trait theorists, they describe the structure of the personality. For example, Macrae and Costa, they say that personality is composed of these five factors. Alport talked of personality is composed of three groups of traits. So they are explaining the structure of personality, and various twin studies and adoption studies have shown that genetic factors are important in determining individual personality. So earlier it was believed that personality is entirely environmentally determined. But nowadays, it has been recognized that personality is moderately heritable. That means genetic factors also important in determining personality. The most important contribution of the trait theories is that these theories have given rise to a number of standardized assessment tools. That means there are a good number of tests which are very good in terms of psychometric properties developed by these trait theories. In the first class, we have discussed about measurement of personality, inventories, projective techniques, interviews, behavioral assessments, isn't it? Do you remember? We have discussed about inventories, etc., projective techniques, etc. Mostly inventories, I have told you in that class, they are very good in terms of psychometric properties, and good inventories have been developed by these trait theories, the trait theorists. And so far as weakness is concerned, trait theories fail to explain how personality develops. So they are silent about the development of these traits. They assume that personality is stable over time. So there is no room for personality change. That means by therapy or counseling, we cannot change a person. Michel, we have discussed it, found very little cross-situational consistency between the trait and actual behavior. So in different situations, the trait is stable, they say, but actual behavior changes according to stable, which Michel argued. Okay, so these are theories of personality, and so far as measurement of, we have already discussed the issues of related to personality, study of personality, and measurement of personality. We have discussed about inventories, projective techniques, interviews, etc. Let us discuss about the psychometric properties which are important to the study of personality measurement. So when we develop a tool to measure something, we must look for some properties. That are called as psychometric properties. So a test, what is a test? Any psychological test, including personality tests, they measure some aspect of our behavior. So in a objective and standardized manner. So what is standardization? Standardization is a concept which says that the test must be administered according to some standardized procedure. So there must be uniform procedures that must be followed in the administration and scoring of the test. So administration, scoring and interpretation of the test must be uniform for all. Then only we can say that the test is standardized. So what should be the standard procedure? How can we administer a test in the same manner to all? So the procedure to be followed must be informed. So the test developer or the test constructor, he provides the information regarding the administration, procedure of administration, scoring and interpretation in the test manual. So before administering the test, we must read the test manual in detail, so that we can know the ideal procedure of administration. If the procedure of administration is changed, we should not interpret the scores according to the norm of the test. So what is norm? Norm is the average procedure performance of the test. Suppose I administer a personality in the big 5 factor of personality or personality test to a person and say that he scored 20 on neuroticism. Suppose, what would you infer from that? Is 20 a good score? Is 20 should be regarded as a high score, or is it to be regarded as a low score? So raw score has no meaning. We have to see the average score. If most of the people score 15 on that particular scale, then 20 is higher than normal, higher than the normal performance. So it is a high score. If the average performance, average people score 25 on that particular scale, then we can say that 20 is a low score on that test. So raw score of 20 can be a high score or can be a low score depending on the average performance. So average performance is the norm. How can we know the average performance? So norms are developed by administering the test to a large group of people. So then only we can say that is the average. We can know the mean and average deviation, standard deviation, and we can decide the average performance. So the norm is also provided by the test developer in the test manual. Another important characteristic or property of a test is reliability. Reliability is the consistency of performance in different situations. So if the same test is administered twice, ideally a person should get the same score. We are administering a scale of extraversion. So the person should get the same score if he is administered today and if he is administered a week later. So on the scores obtained on these two occasions should not differ much. There should be consistency, that is reliability. A test should be a reliable test, and reliability of the test and the method, there are several methods of finding out reliability. You must have been studied them in your research methodology class. So the method of finding out the reliability and the reliability, the coefficient is also provided in the test manual. And finally, the most important characteristic is the validity property. So validity is whether the test measures what it is intended to measure, or what it is supposed to measure, that is validity. If I say this is a test of extraversion, but actually the test measures, I give some problems on addition, subtraction, and I give administer it to you, and the scores obtained by you, I say the high scorers are more higher on extraversion. That means here the test is not valid because the test actually measures your computing ability. It is not a test of extraversion. So this is a test of computational ability. So the test lacks in validity. The test should measure what it is supposed to measure, that is validity. Validity is also very important, and there are also different types of validity. You must have studied in your research methodology class. So we should stop here. Do you have any doubt?
No, ma'am.
Thank you. So my portion is over. So,
Ma'am, can you send this slides today to the WhatsApp?
I cannot send it through WhatsApp. I am mailing it to Mr. Sujit, and he has taken the responsibility of sharing it among.
Yes, you will send it to
So I cannot send it actually through WhatsApp.
Ma'am, I have a doubt actually.
Huh?
All these psychometric assessments for the personality test, I'm sure there must be many. But as a psychology student, what are the more important psychometric assessment tools we need to know for administering in the future?
So it depends on your objective, why you are trying to, why you are going to assess the personality. And you have to consider the age of the child, the situation, what is your objective, and depending on that, and you must also consider the reliability and validity of the test, whether the norm is available. You should consider all these.
Okay, like suppose if it is big 5 factor model, what is
Yes.
Ma'am, if it is big 5-factor model, if we have to administer a psychometric assessment for this particular to study this particular personality trait, what
Yes.
should be the tool?
You have a neo-PIR, the revised version. So the neo-PI has is the older version of the test. You should go for neo-PIR and or neo-FFI. Neo-PIR is a longer test and neo-FFI is a shorter version of the test.
Okay, ma'am. Ma'am, and one more thing, like suppose in course, because we are having an end of this, we are coming to the end of this particular session. So in case we have any doubts relating to these psychometric assessment, can we just connect you later on?
You can contact me, but I think you have a paper, practical paper. Somebody is appointed to take care of it. I think.
Okay. Okay, ma'am. Okay,
you can ask me also.
Okay, ma'am. Thank you so
but much. Since the person would teach you according to your syllabus, better you should ask.
Sure. Okay. Thank you so much.
Thank you, ma'am.
Okay.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you for tolerating me. Wish you all the best. Wish you success in your course. Thank you so much.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you, madam.
Thank you, ma'am.
So I think we should leave.
Yes, madam.
Okay.